Vamos lá então, estamos ao vivo para mais uma mesa do CODAIP, o Congresso de Direito de Autor e Interesse Público. Começo em português a saudar todos que estão nos ouvindo, mas já vou brevemente ir para o inglês. Essa mesa vai ser em inglês, tá? A gente vai tentar falar devagar, para todos entenderem, mas vamos fazer... Opa, deixa eu até diminuir aqui meu volume aqui, para não dar feedback. Mas então vamos fazer o switch aqui para que a gente tenha um painel internacional com presença do nosso ilustre Chad de Los Angeles, o Alexandre e o Thor aqui do Brasil. Então, hello everyone, how are you? I hope the audio and video are okay. My name is Guilherme Coutinho, and I'm really, really glad to have the opportunity to participate in this amazing event with you all. I really would like to thank Marcos Vachovics and all the people involved in CODAIP for this opportunity. As an online event, this panel is gathering people from Floripa, as me, Curitiba, as Alexandre Pesserl or Alex, so we can be more international, Thor Moura from São Paulo, and Chad Gerber from LA, from Los Angeles, California. See you, the audience. It will be nice to get some feedback on the chat on YouTube. You could start telling us, where are you from? Let's get some cheers from you all, and let's get down to business. So the first speaker is Thor Moura. Thor Moura holds a bachelor's degree in popular music and a postgraduate degree in popular song writing from Faculdade Santa Marcelina. He has taken several music business courses, such as Music Industry Essentials at NYU, Entrepreneurship and Cultural Innovation here in Brazil at Sebrae, Music Business Instituto Gênesis from PUC-Rio, among others. In addition, he had also participated in BNDES Garagem, the largest startup acceleration program in Latin America, led by BNDES, the Brazilian Development Bank. And so, Thor, let's hear some from you. I know that you are also a musician, an entrepreneur. So please, you have 20 minutes. Let's go.
Okay, thank you so much, Guilherme. First of all, I would like to thank you all. Thank you, Gui. Thank you, Fondolight. Thank you, CODAIP, for the invitation. It is a pleasure to be here alongside these incredible professional musicians and professionals from music industry working in different areas and developing an excellent work. So I would like to thank you for this opportunity. I'm very pleased and honored. So yes, Guilherme, I'm also a musician. First of all, I see myself as a musician besides all the work I do. But yes, I work as a bass player, a session musician, and a bass player, a freelancer. But I also have two bands here in São Paulo. One is Bolero Freak. We play popular Brazilian music, but we are very inspired in the tropicalismo movement. So we mix MPB with pop and rock and baião, axé and samba, a lot of different rhythms, and we make a freak mix to to impress the audiences and connect with everybody's hearts and minds. And I also play at Mano Única. We play Latin America popular songs, so we mix Brazilian popular culture. When I say popular culture, I'm focused on baião, axé, ijexá, maracatu, frevo, coco, this inside Brazil rhythms. And we also mix this with other Latin America rhythms like chacarera, zamba, cumbia. And we love Latin music, and we do this research because there are a lot of similarities, rhythm similarities, and melodic, and and also in this cultural context that all these rhythms and musical genres are played. And so I work as a musician more than 10 years, combining all these things. I also worked a little bit as a producer and arranger. But since 2018, I got back to study music technology. I got back to study technology, but focused on the applications inside the music, because music and technology are two subjects that I love so much. So this is the perfect conversation for me. And since 2018, with all this research, I started researching in my post-graduation course. I studied how Jacob Collier used different technologies to compose, produce, and also commercialize his music, and also Imogen Heap, an English DJ, very innovative artist, not only creatively speaking, but also in this business mind. And since then, I got deeply involved and started Sling Musical, my startup, in 2019. We are a music startup focused on connecting brands with people through music. So we were focused on live music before pandemic, but since since 2020, we migrated to digital experiences, and it was where all these things connected to Metaverse started for us. But before I speak a little bit more about this experiences, I wanted to say that I'm also involved, and I'm currently more focused on another music startup named Stream. It spells STRM. It's a music fintech focused on advances and business intelligence for independent artists. So we are developing a platform that analyzes data from Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and soon other platforms to provide business intelligence for for independent artists, and also to provide advances for independent artists, working with microcredit. That is something that it's not done here in Brazil yet. And there are only a few companies in the world that work with advances like the way we are developing. So it's a project that I'm the product owner, and I'm very, very pleased to work with. I'm learning a lot, and I'm very excited to present all the things we are developing soon for all of you. But talking about Zing Musical and the works we did connecting with technology and the metaverse, the main subject here, we developed a musical concert inside a mobile game named Avakin Life. It's a global game, very, very similar to The Sims. I think everybody have played The Sims some time in your life. And it's very, very close to this dynamic, to its dynamics. So it's a game that the main focus is to socialize and live experiences inside the game. So you create your avatar and customize it the way you want, and go inside this metaverse to live experiences in concerts, in cinema, and beaches, mountains, house parties, and all kinds of experiences they design inside the game. They are very, very good in all this incredible digital experiences they create. And we partnered with them to be this bridge, this musical bridge between them and the independent artists, because they had difficulties to connect with artists and know how to work with them, know how to develop the better experiences, because it's not simply take the live experience and throw it inside a metaverse, right? You need to think a specific, it's another experience. It's a concert, right. It's live music, but you need to think differently, because there are a lot of touch points and the way the user engages and feels inside this metaverse that you need to think separately, right? So we partnered with them to be this bridge, and we worked with you, Guilherme, to arrange the legal and the licensing rights, right? So it was a very, very, very good project, and it was very exciting. It was very good to work with Phonolite in this. And it was, I think it lasted, it was, I think 5 months of project since the first meeting. We started to, design what it was going to be. They have every year in June, a week, they create a festival inside the game. It's the Pride Week, a week focused on the LGBT pride and to support this movement. So they create a lot of different things inside the game, and costumes and events, not only musical events, but a lot of things, different scenarios that people can engage, different items, different ways to engage inside the game. So we started to think what we could do to potentialize this experience this year. Now, it was in 2021. It was last year. So we started to think, and we decided to choose an artist, an LGBT artist here from Brazil, to make the final concert, and to finish the festival with a concert. And so we took several weeks to study different artists, to see the ones that had the most connection, the most synergy with the game. And we chose Johnny Hooker. If anyone here doesn't know Johnny Hooker, I suggest you to Google it, to Spotify it, or search in the stream platform that you use, because Johnny Hooker is an incredible artist, an incredible human being, very sensible, and his compositions are beautiful. The production is very, very good, and his lyrics are very profound and sensible. So I suggest you to Google it, to search it, Johnny Hooker. So we chose it, and when we talked to him, his first impressions were, oh my God, but how can we do it? But are you sure we can do it? But I have never seen anything like this. I've never done anything like this. How a concert inside a game, a mobile game, but how would I play? How the people are going to see it and listen? Oh my God, this is incredible. I'm so excited, but I also am afraid because from the unknown, right? But we helped him and explained it to him, and we had a lot of meetings to organize it, to choose with him what songs it was going to be played. Because it's also an important, very, very important thing to decide when you are designing, a digital experience, a digital concert. So it was incredible to work alongside him and the team, Avakim's live team, and also TikTok teams, because we partnered with them to do some lives with Johnny Hooker to potentialize, the communication and the marketing. And so it was incredible. Besides the music, the format was, they designed an avatar for Johnny Hooker. I don't know if I can share a screen here. Yeah, can I share a screen? 1 minute here, just to show. Let me.
Sure. Go on.
Just a minute. It's going to be very, very fast. So let me see here. Basic open system pref. I wanted to show you a short video to see the avatar, but they are asking me here permissions to show. I think I will continue here, and in other moments I will try here to configure, and then I can. Oh, okay. I think it's free now. Let me see. System preferences. Well, I'll try later. So we don't want to make you guys wait, but I will try here, and I will show you later, because it was very, very beautiful. They designed an avatar, so similar to Johnny Hooker, and they also designed his costume, and we decided to sell this costume as items inside the game. So it was incredible, because we could create different ways to monetize this experience, and the users loved it. They bought the items, and we partnered with an institution here in São Paulo that's called Casa Um. It's an institution that helps LGBT people in vulnerable situations, because here in Brazil we have a very serious situation regarding LGBT, and how to socialize. There are a lot of people that have como é que é preconceito mesmo em inglês? Prejudice, yeah. So they work with them. Sorry, guys, my English is a little rusty because I don't practice it like this in a bit. But some words are missing, but there's no problem, right? But the point is, we partnered with them, so we earned and part of this money we directed to them so they could invest in their projects to help these people. So it was so beautiful, because from a digital experience, very innovative for us, for the artists, for a Back in Life in Brazil, we could generate a lot of value, not only for the artists, not only for the users, but also with a social impact. So we can see that if you design carefully, and if you connect with people that are aligned with with your vision, and you work hard, you can create incredible experiences to engage, to connect people in different forms and have different exchanges, So I think I don't know how much time I talked it already. Yeah, I have a little more. Okay, good. So I think for now, regarding this experience, I think this is the main subject. It was incredible, and we are very excited to work with other experiences, and we are looking for the things everyone are doing in Brazil and other parts of the world. So and also so to finish, I think it is. I think it's okay for now. I think I talked a lot, so I want to hear a little bit from you guys so we can continue this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Thor. Great presentation. It's a funny thing is that, like, I guess 2 years ago during pandemic, I was hearing to a podcast, a Brazilian podcast called Fast Forward, about the music. And there was this episode about Back in Life, this game. So I was hearing about it, and I never heard about the game before, and I was really curious. And oh, nice! And they were starting to do some partnerships with musicians in Brazil. And then during the pandemic, also, Thor was a student of an online course that I was the teacher, Music as Profession. And then we connected, and one day he asked me, "Hey, Guilherme, have you heard about this game, Back in Life?" And I said, "Yes, I did, and I'm really interested about it." So he came to me and said, "Whoa, now I'm doing a project to a live concert in Back in Life." So it was really nice to get this return and to work with the project. And I guess for artists, it's a good thing, not only because, well, there are royalties involved into it. So it's not only copyright because of the songs, but also image rights, because you are in the game, there is this avatar. But also there's a lot of indirect benefits from it. As I downloaded the game, and Johnny Hooker was on the cover of to everyone that would downloaded it. So many people that never heard about this independent artist got to see, if they didn't watch the concert, but they looked at him every time they would play the game, there was him. So it's very good for independent artists to break all the walls and to go outside the bubble and connect with other kind of people, maybe some people that are not interested in your kind of music, but because of the game, they can connect with you. So I guess it gave good results to the artist. So let's now move on, and I will present, let me get his brief resume. Let's go to LA. Let's move to Los Angeles, and I will introduce to you Gerber, my good friend. He is a platinum selling musician and songwriter has collaborated on music with Aloe Black, the Brazilian artists Diplo, Alok, Cat Dealers, Malifu, Chris Cross from Amsterdam, and more. He is a patented futurist, NFT artist, and founder of the mixed reality technology company Mellow Scene, holding a bachelor's of arts in mass media and communications. I didn't know that. Chad has also combined his experience in both the major label music industry and underground music industry to build what he believes to be the future of music creation and collaboration globally. Chad, please share the stage with us. Come on.
Thank you for having me on. It's cool to be connected back to Brazil, even if it is through Zoom. It's been, I think it's been a couple years since I was down there working on stuff, since the whole pandemic ruined the planet. But it's nice to be at least in a Zoom hangout for a minute. So thank you, Thor, for everything you were talking about. Like, clearly you're in the middle of this, and you see how incredible this is for creatives and artists and where this is going. And that stuff like gets me just through the roof excited. So I'll try to start from kind of how I got to where I am now, even with the technological side of everything going on. So when I was growing up, my parents, for some reason, they allowed me to take things apart. I was just one of those kids that took technology apart and put it back together and just wanted to kind of figure out how things worked. And that's sort of like a side thing that I guess I just did to probably make my mother mad. When I was about six or seven, they made me take classical guitar, like flamenco guitar type of lessons, and I kind of hated it, but I had to stick with it for a while until I ultimately discovered writing my own music and doing my own thing, and then it sort of like connected everything that made sense as far as what music is for, and I don't have to play dead people's music. I can do whatever I want. So while I was pursuing my career in music, I was still treating technology and all that as kind of like my side hobby, computers, and I got deep into 11 and 10 meter radio. So I was like talking constantly as a kid across the globe on these radios and stuff, and I would buy new ones or trade gear for people to get different radios, and sometimes we'd hack them and take police scanners and hack those. And since a lot of it's kind of analog, it's not too hard to hack things, but all of that sort of rounded out this ideology or this thought process in me about connection and how we have the ability to connect globally. We just are kind of forced to, I guess, to the nature and the laws of physics. We can't be together. And but I always had that kind of in my head where I was like, if I could just connect on a more intimate level, like a real level, that could really just, the amount of things that could come from it would be just incredible. So I continue to pursue music, get better at music, or try to get better at music. And since I grew up in a rural region, kind of up by Canada, there's no music industry, no entertainment industry. So I had to get creative. So ultimately I started sneaking into concerts that came through town, and I just bug managers and musicians, hand them demos and that sort of thing. Until around high school, some of these people, I guess it clicked with them, and they were offering me gigs. So they'd fly me in to perform or to make music and stuff. So at about 17, I started going down to Miami and working on music projects and different things. And then still going back to where I grew up and kind of bouncing around. And then ultimately I landed in Los Angeles. Once in Los Angeles, still pursuing everything and having some decent tracks under my belt that at least went out under some like indie labels. I was paying attention to the technology and just what was moving around, since we're not very far from San Francisco, and somebody was working on a project called Oculus, not very far from me, down in, I think, like Long Beach. So I kind of kept my eye on this Kickstarter campaign as I was grinding it out in Los Angeles in the music scene and playing Sunset Strip and all that. And he was basically taking iPhones and sticking them on his face and trying to make like virtual reality happen. And so I kept my eye on that. Was like at 2000, I want to say that was like 2005, maybe 4 or 5, somewhere in there. So the technology was kind of getting better, but it still wasn't a whole lot I could do with it. So I, kind of put that off to the side. Then fast forward a few more years, as a Gibson artist, I was talking with Gibson about ways that they could kind of incorporate more opportunities for different types of music production and music, since Gibson predominantly focuses on guitar, rock, folk country kind of stuff. So I was talking with them about the ability to use the guitar as a MIDI controller and use that to do all kinds of things. Since most guitarists, if they sit down and let's say they want to score something or do electronic music, they have to end up learning to play the piano in order to even do anything in their recording software. So I started these conversations with them. We're having some meetings and talking about some cool stuff. And then as we were doing this, the pandemic hit, and I was booked to play at Lollapalooza in Sao Paulo and Rock in Rio, and all of that hit the fan once the pandemic hit. So I'm still in these meetings with Gibson, Zoom, and all that, and I just kind of casually mentioned the idea of in 2025 I'm going to work on some virtual reality studio concepts and the ability to go into a studio and collaborate with other musicians and perform and do stuff like that. And they basically were like, well, let's talk more about that. This other stuff is cool, but we want to know more about this. And so that was when I decided to kind of pull the trigger on this design concept that had been kicking around in my head. So I went through my contacts and tracked down patent attorneys and the right tech people, and it sort of snowballed faster than I was anticipating, till we had global teams in place and a bunch of attorneys, and then Alex showed up in the mix, and it was so much excitement around the concept and the idea that for the first time ever musicians could really connect, because music has been location based since the beginning of time, and I experienced this. I never had any opportunities until I had to leave and go out into the world and pursue all these things. But it made me really start thinking about how many people out there are the next Mozart or Beethoven, who live in a region in a country that just does not have access to these things, or maybe they don't have the finances to move somewhere larger with the music industry. Like, there's so many roadblocks that are kind of hindering the unlimited potential of music creation, and then even just other types of art and creativity. So I wanted to remove that element of space. I wanted to remove that element of, like, if I'm in the US, I have to collaborate with US artists. I have to make a band in the US, when I want to see what happens if I have a Japanese DJ and a Brazilian bass player and an American guitarist. I wanted to kind of see what the mix would be for the first time in history if we did not have those limitations. So I incorporated that into as I was building out this design, the platform VR, and how to get these instruments into VR in the first place. So through my research, I found that a lot of VR platforms are focusing on virtual instruments that are not really tactile, a lot of just kind of swinging in the air and things like that, which for some people, this is great and they like that. But most musicians, the entire experience of music and creating it is a tactile one, where you have a relationship with the instrument, you're touching it and doing all these different things. So I wanted to bring reality into virtual reality, and I wanted to bring the reality of music into virtual reality. I wanted that Stradivarius that's 300 years old. I wanted to take that into virtual reality. So I just kind of started piecing all of these equations together of what that's going to look like. And then, of course, talking to brilliant friends of mine around the globe and engineers and things like that. So that's where we kind of came upon that Meloscene was formed. So as we were building out Meloscene, and as I was kind of laying out the framework of what this was going to be, since I'd been essentially formalizing it for years in my head while on tour and on planes and things like that, just kind of fantasies. As I was rolling all of that, I was also looking through history and the cyclical pattern of the evolution of music, and how music itself it's entirely technology based, and it always has been. So even if it was just chanting and a beat, somebody still had to grab the right stick, and hit it on the right thing. So there's some technology right there, right out of the gate. For a long time, music was played on guitars using cat gut strings, and the sound could only emit so far. But then once they started doing metallurgy and using metal strings, now all of a sudden we had bigger concert halls, and that was possible. Same with the harpsichord when it transitioned into the piano. So this whole relationship it's never been music's over here and technology's here. It's always been together. And the way I see it is that we've hit sort of a plateau in the last 100 years, where all the instruments are made and we're making kind of the same music in a sense. We're not advancing further. And so that's where I wanted to implement that into my platform, Meloscene, is I want to open up the tools for music to finally evolve into that next phase, which involves a lot of crazy patents that are still waiting to be filed and all these different things. But ultimately, the platform itself and the ability to bring in your real audio and collaborate real time, regardless of where you are in the world, it's going to have an effect on music and what we're going to experience and see moving forward. So for the first time in history, if all of this is in place correctly, we're going to have the ability to see, hear, and experience music in a completely new way that also falls in line with the cyclical evolution of technology and music. And then on top of that, I wanted to make some the ability for people to connect on a real level, since social media has become, I mean, most people, you step back and look at it, social media, it's had its benefits, but at the end of the day, it's caused political upheaval. It's caused everybody to go into a tribalistic mentality. It's done a lot of damage, and a lot of that damage is from the algorithms that they shove down your throat so that you keep going down these rabbit holes. And humans don't communicate this way. Like, we've never communicated this way. It's lost. The majority of our communication is nonverbal. Like, the majority of our conversation or of our communication is in person, feeling how the other person's feeling. And just like in music, and Thor knows this 100%, that in the studio, you don't need to say a word. You can just, it's about the body and the vibe. And it's just something that you experience that's completely lost on social media. This is a 2-dimensional flat screen, and we're trying to have complicated dialogue and work on changing the future and all that. And it's equivalent of a pen and paper compared to what our modern technology can do. So I feel that 2-dimensional technology and algorithms and all of that has squelched the possibility for what humans can do and what we can create. And with Meloscene, I'm removing that. I want people to go in and not be categorized by an algorithm, but to be able to fall into a situation or a group that you would have probably never fallen into on your own. It's just the natural human experience, but we're removing all these limitations. And then we're using music as the community glue to bring everybody in, since that's its historical place, as music is a communal, it's a glue for communities to come in and get to know each other. So that's the foundation of the platform, is to create community, collaboration, bring in the music, bring in the art, and with that will come the people. And of course, with the power of music, it just has the ability to break down all the walls and all the prejudices. And, at the end of the day, people want to come in and just be together. So that's the main component of the platform, is that we want to facilitate just what humans want deep down. And so with the patent pending tech, which some of it's behind me over here, and the platform, the VR platform, and with people like Thor, who are already in the mix, innovating and pioneering this thing, I think we're going to leave, and I hope we're going to leave the 2.0 Web 2.0 mentality and put that behind us, and leave that back there with the phone or a pager, because where we need to be as humans is we have to interact on a more intimate level if we want to actually collaborate and change things globally, despite the limitations of physical distance, space and time. I think that pretty much covers it as far as what I'm doing with Meloscene. How much time do I got? I think I got a timer here. Oh, about 13 minutes.
You have 5 minutes, Chad. Be free to.
And so you have 25 minutes or 5 minutes?
No, 5. You have until more 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, cool. Okay, so where we're at with Meloscene, we have all the tech in place. We built it. We're moving. We're running with this whole thing. We're now establishing more sponsorship and company pairings. We're solidifying more global teams and global connections to kind of make sure that we don't get, which we're not gonna, which has kind of been cool, is that since it's such an exciting platform, and VR itself and the creative possibilities of it is so exciting, we've established a team of people that are going to have the ability to protect us from being squashed by companies that are threatened by what we're doing, and actually facilitate collaboration with those companies. So we are 100% focused on the creativity, collaboration with independent artists, underground artists, because like I'll do stuff in the major label world and work on a bunch of cool stuff, but at the end of the day, I like to do underground music, underground electronic synthwave stuff. So we're establishing sort of alliances that are falling into place with amazing, huge global brands and companies, and we're going into the space of connecting the piece between the major label curated world of where they pick the artists and all that, and the independent underground world, where it's not an either or situation inside of our platform. We are bringing both in, both can work together, and everyone can be happy and reap the rewards. And for the first time ever, through NFT contracts and a system that is more streamlined, we can, for the first time ever, protect artists from the never-ending scamming that takes place over their music and their rights. So we're trying to bring in these different parties, and kind of it's like a peace treaty in the middle, where this is first and foremost, we're focusing on the human element here and how to protect artists and creatives. And while everybody's going to monetize their music, monetize their experiences and all that, it is going to come down to the artists and how they want to do it for the first time. It's not going to be dependent upon some company that holds all the cards or threatens them. So with the help of people like you guys, actually, this is going to be possible on a global scale. And we are rapidly approaching that. And actually, we're trying to get ready for CES right now, which I think is in January. And then hopefully in the new year, we will have some big announcements as to what the next phase is going to hold for Meloscene. So there it is. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Chad. Thank you a lot. Hey, Chad, have you watched the playlist, the TV show on Netflix?
No,
about Spotify?
I don't know if I could watch it. Spotify scares me because I don't think they like us, and we have to let them know we're not gunning for them. We're just trying to make something happen that everybody's happy with, you know. Is it good though?
Yeah. They show, like, they try to show all perspectives, from like the entrepreneur and the investor and the artist and the labels, the major labels. Yeah. And one thing that they try to show is like how to explain to not only to the music industry, to the major labels, new technologies, but also how to get investment, how to explain to investors. Like, so if you could just tell how it is to make meetings with music industry companies and possible investors. How does that go?
Man, okay, so that part's the weirdest part about this is that, like, and I've been in the music industry for like a really long time, and they, for the most part, the people who run the business of the music industry, they are not typically artists themselves. And artists are super highly emotional and unpredictable. Like, I'm guilty of that myself. Alex knows. But what's weird is how emotionally upset some of these upper label people that we've had meetings with have gotten. So we've had some that are thrilled and they're like, this is phenomenal, and we want to, like, let's make something. We've had other meetings with people, and like, I won't say their names, but they have screamed at us for 30 solid minutes, 30 minutes about how what we're doing is going to essentially ruin the planet. And even when we tell them we're not trying to dismantle anyone, we're not trying to take anyone down, we're just trying to provide more for people, they just wouldn't even hear it. So we've had, it's either everyone's in or they're furious and mad. And I mean, I have my theories as to why. I think that I think some of these people feel threatened that we're trying to dismantle like their legacy as a business person, which I'm like, well, it's not what we're trying to do at all. What we are obviously trying to do is we're losing. I can't speak for other countries, but the United States, we have some of the worst copyright laws on the planet. We're on par with North Korea and China for artist protection and copyright. So it's not really, there's not a whole lot of incentive to keep creating art and music in the US. It's just not feasible, especially on a professional level, as the rates and everything just keep falling and streaming no one's taking care of the artists. So it might look good on a spreadsheet for a business when they look at it and go, we're making tons of money, but we're actually killing the art. And culturally speaking, in the US, we're killing art on every level. Like, it's being removed from schools, it's being removed from everything we do. And it's causing it's correlated to a lot of problems going on, at least in our country. You remove this violence and these things go up. So we want to try to fix that. And we can't really do it necessarily through government involvement. But what we can do is let those kids know that they did want to do music, but it's a dead end. It's not. Like, there is an option, and there is an exodus coming where you're going to be able to come in and build a brand, build your music community within these spaces. Forget what the governments are doing, because if we do it correctly, and if Alex does his job correctly, these NFT contracts will bypass copyright law and global complications to where people are protected on a higher level. So we're battling. Battling a lot of opposition, but there's so much going with us on the back end, like from artists and people, and like globally speaking, that there's so much momentum happening right now that, I mean, it's extremely exciting. But that's what we're trying to do is, we're just trying to keep music from dying. Or, the biggest complaints, people say music sucks. They're always like, music sucks. I'm like, well, when's the last time you paid for it? If a plumber ruined your plumbing and you never paid them, would you be mad at the plumber for doing a bad job? Like, you have to, at some point, you do have to pay for something if you want it to be good. It takes a lot of time and effort, education. So again, since we can't really rely on the government to necessarily fix this, or all the governments, we're trying to fix it. And, hopefully we will succeed and usher in a better era of creativity in music. Hopefully.
Perfect. Well, you told us about copyright and government regulations, so I guess it's time for us to connect with Alexandre Pesserl, so he can explain that to us a little bit more. So let me first introduce Alexandre Pesserl. He holds a doctorate in law. He's a lawyer and legal advisor with professional and academic experience in the areas of copyright, intellectual property, constitutional law, and civil law. He's a UNESCO consultant in collective management of copyright, on collective management of copyright in the digital environment. He's mediator and arbiter accredited by the Ministry of Culture to act in the resolution of conflicts related to copyright. I miss the Ministry of Culture. I hope the ministry is coming back soon in January. And he's also a researcher at the study group on copyright and industrial rights, the Gerber. So, good friend, let's hear some from you.
Okay, thank you, Gui. As always, it's a pleasure to be back at CODAIP. We are again here with Professor Marcos in what has become probably the largest copyright discussion panel and Congress in Brazil, probably South America. So it's always a pleasure to be back here, and we're all such good friends aboard. After the cool kids have, given their speeches here, we have some people from tech industry and musicians and gaming industry. Now we come the boring, lawyering stuff. So it's up to me to give that speech. But I'd like to connect with the last words that Chad was telling us right now. We have something in the music industry which is called the value gap, which is something that the musicians have felt it very, very deeply in their pockets. It's not just in US-based situations. Royalties have been falling, even though the industry has been collecting more money than ever. One of the causes, or probably the main cause for this, is that there's a study by the Citi Group from a couple of years ago that states that basically about 12% of all the money that is made by the music industry goes back to the creators. The lion's share of it, the 88%, goes to everybody who's along the way in the distribution chain supply of music. We're talking about publishing and recording companies, yes, but we're also talking about distribution companies, we're talking about aggregator companies, we're talking about the platform themselves, all these venues where you have to listen to music too. Everybody takes a chunk of it. And in the end of the day, you can barely make a meal for the musicians, the writers, the composers, the performing artists, and the people who actually produce all this value. So, I've met Chad back in LA a couple of years ago when I was working for a recording company. And we went to LA with this gig because they wanted to make a writing camp. That was exactly what it sounds like. So, we gathered a bunch of musicians in the studio, and they were there physically for 5 or 6 days just making music. And we got great value out of it. And when the pandemic hit, suddenly all of this was over. But, Chad and myself, we kept in touch. And when he shared with me the Melosync concept and project, one thing that struck me as absolutely game-changing was the possibility that, if you got a bunch of musicians, they are already in the digital medium here. They are making they're composing the tracks in the digital medium. So you have a platform where you essentially can master music and distribute from the platform itself. You do not have to go through a distribution company, an aggregator company, a publishing company, a recording company. All these middlemen, they're reduced to one single entry point. And then you can, in the platform itself, you can, when you finish, okay, so the 5 of us here, 4 of us here, we're in the studio, we just wrote the track, we performed the track. So what's the next thing that we have to do in the physical world? Okay, so we have to fill up a bunch of legal documents. We have to fill agreements between ourselves, stating how we're going to split that track. We have to get ourselves a publishing company, at least a distribution company, so our song can be heard. If you're doing this essentially in a platform, you can have all that in a single entry point. You can have the publishing company right there. You can have the distribution company right there, because the platform itself can deliver those tracks that we just built, that we just wrote, directly to the stores, directly to Spotify or Apple or Amazon or whoever, Deezer, whatever our client, our fan base is listening to. And the other pretty revolutionizing aspect of it is that you can have, for the first time, the direct distribution of this royalty directly to the musicians. Because, like Chad said, we're doing this on an NFT-based scheme. It's all written down on the blockchain. So you do not have to, haggle with your distribution company or with your photographic company in order to, okay, so these are my royalties. I want to receive them, We have a very, very serious problem, especially in Brazil. I don't know, I'm not really familiar with how that goes in the US, but I'm willing to bet that it's not very different from here, that most musicians, they do not have sort of a legal education to understand what their rights are and what kind of forms they have to fill in order to receive the royalties. It's a widespread problem here in Brazil. You have lots of people that, okay, I'm writing a song here, but I'm not affiliated with a collective management company, so I'm not getting royalties properly. And we know that most of the music consumed around the world is progressively being heard in the digital medium. And one thing that you can get for absolutely sure in the digital medium is control of what has been heard, or what's playing, or what people are listening to. I mean, if you get access to the numbers, it's a simple question of math. Okay, so it's been heard so many times, this is the royalty they're paying. We do not have to have monies that are not being paid or that are being, withheld because of the registry, it's not correct, or you have mistakes here. You can have the whole digital ecosystem working towards fixing that sort of issue. I mean, I think that's one of the main revolutionary things we're talking about here. Is the possibility of, direct distribution for musicians once and for all. And like Chad said, bypassing politicians, bypassing existing institutions that are in place. Of course, we're still going to depend on, collective management systems around the world for airplay and for theater plays, and when you put your track inside a movie and stuff like that. But we do not have to depend or rely on these structures that have so many flaws to monetize the tracks that are being totally generated in the metaverse. That's, I think, is the first and most the revolutionary point that we got in a project like Meloscene or in Navigating Life. Is the possibility to have this direct contact and between the artist and the fan. And that's the second point. One thing also that Chad, including, brought this attention to me is that we have some major corporations nowadays getting into the metaverse, including Meta itself, the Facebook owner. And everything that I've heard from this mega corporation so far seems let's take what we have in real life and reproduce it digitally. So we have this major artist and we're going to put him in a concert, a digital concert. You can attend this digital concert from wherever you are on the world. Okay, that's cool. But I don't think that delivers the real possibility that we have in the metaverse, which is direct access to these artists. With a concept like Meloscene, where you have, the band just, writing songs and in the studio by themselves, well, why not put your fan base inside your studio with you? Like watching how the creative process takes place. Of course, the artist can monetize that. He can charge a ticket for his fan to go into the studio with him. You can have 3,000 people in the studio at the same time. It's going to feel like there's 12, 15 people because you can put them in stacks. They're virtual people or avatars. You can also have, different ways to monetize the musicians. I think the whole point here is this. The multiverse is a possibility, and the metaverses are a possibility to bring different income sources to musicians who are constantly going down, like Chad said. Okay, so the musicians are losing power, and we have a real possibility of driving people away from the creative business because it just doesn't pay anymore. I mean, it pays for the platforms, it pays for the middleman, but there's less and less money involved in it for the actual people who are delivering value. Here, the writers, the composers, the songwriters, the performers, and so on. So we have different ways of people to, contribute and participate. I mean, we have seen all our shares of, vaquinhas and, crowdfunding sources, crowdfunding schemes. But mostly, you do not have a real value delivered to your fan base. Okay, so you paid for my next album, so I'm going to deliver it to you with an added track, or you can get a ticket for my next concert or something like that. Where in the metaverse, you can actually give your fan base something digitally palpable for him to get home with. Okay, so here's a special skin for your avatar. So, here's a token that you can actually use for something else. You have the possibility also of monetizing everything that everybody is doing inside such an ecosystem, like a metaverse, like a creative fuel metaverse. We're talking about an ecosystem, a metaverse that's being created so people can actually get money from it. It's not like a cash cow. Okay, so come to the big label company metaverse and give us your money. No, we're talking about just the other way around here. We're talking about, okay, so you are an artist, you are a musician. Okay, so use this venue, use the space to actually bring in value for yourself, for your music band, for your own company. So, and you do not talking about just, musicians. We're talking about digital designers who can model items that can be sold in the metaverse. Okay, so you have my special limited edition pinball machine that you can put in your digital studio. You know, I'm building these digital pinball machines and selling it to people who are on this metaverse. I'm designing different skins for your band members to use. All these people can also sell their services in such a metaverse. So it appears as, you know, a music-focused, music-based metaverse, but when you start to think about it, it's more and more and more and more, and it keeps delivering. So I think that's the most important concept that we're talking about here, and it's a real possibility to help fix this problem once and for all. Gui, how's my time? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay, so I think that's it. Let's go back here, and you're muted, by the way.
Nice. So we have this question from Guilherme Coelho. Blockchain promises to help with that distribution and an environment where authors could be better rewarded. Hopefully, I guess it's more a comment than a question. But Alex, could you please have a comment on this? How blockchain can connect with Metaverse to help distribution and royalties control? I was in another panel today on Codaip, and there is this official information by ECAD, that is our collective management CMO here in Brazil, that like when they receive the information from Netflix, for example, so Netflix tell ECAD, well, these are the shows that people watch it in Brazil, they watch it that for 10 times, 1,000 times, and these are the songs that they heard on those episodes. Like ECAD, they just trust Netflix. They don't audit the numbers. So how can we use like blockchain to control this kind of information and to connect also with Metaverse? How do you, I know that you wrote some papers on that, so I guess you could help us.
Actually, I wrote kind of a doctor thesis about it. Well, the thing is, you have two sides of the question here. One is what we're talking about, the creation of music, and when you write down the royalty split share in an NFT, in a blockchain. So, I mean, the four of us here, we just wrote a song, so we're going to split it fourfold, 25% each. Oh, no, but Guilherme is way more famous than us. So he said, okay, I need 80% for myself. Okay. Well, anyway, whatever the split is, that information, you can write it down on a blockchain. And I mean, that's the law for that track, you know? So when the distribution company has to give you the money, well, there's no doubt about it. They'll just look at the NFT. And if we're doing this on a smart contract base, I mean, it's just going to be automatic. That's one part of it. The other part is that we don't today, the problem that you just mentioned with ECAD just trusting what the platform says, it's not just with ECAD. Everybody just trusts what the platform says. And I mean, we're talking about whatever platform here, YouTube, we're talking about Spotify, we're talking about Deezer or Apple or Amazon, everyone, all of them, you know, if you're a musician or if you're a publishing company or if you're a recording company, you get the report, you just have to believe it. You have no means to audit those numbers. So what we're talking about here is the possibility of building blockchain-based platforms for listening to music. So, you know, so we have like, I mean, in my doctor's thesis, I was discussing basically the right of access to the music registry. So we can get to know the shares of music owned by people. And, you know, when I published those reports, lots of people were like, oh, come on, you just want to know how much you earn. And what do you want to do with those numbers? I mean, I don't really care how much does an artist earns or doesn't. It makes no difference to me. But if you have the possibility to know how much of each song is, who are the owners of those tracks, you get to the possibility of paying directly to those people, because today you do not have the possibility to do that without going through the CMOs. That information is held by the CMOs today. So if you want to pay to use music, you have to go to the middleman. You have no possibility of making direct payments. Once we start putting that information on public blockchains, so what do you have the possibility to also build public listening platforms? Like, think about like a P2P Spotify, where you pay to listen to that platform and people put their tracks in there, and whatever you hear during a set period of time, that money that you paid will be distributed directly to those people. I mean, that's game changing. And it all goes through the openness of the registry. So, I mean, I guess that's basically the big promise of the blockchain that we haven't seen delivered yet. But I think that's the path, that's the future.
So we have the legal aspect, but also, I guess, I would like to put Thor on the conversation again. We have the technical issues. So, like Metaverse requires a lot of technology, not only from the developers, but also as a user, I have to have a good internet connection. I have to have like a good cell phone or a good computer or some kind of hardware. So it's not only about creativity. I will make a different kind of concert, different from the analog world. But it's not only about creativity, but it's how to reach that, like with processing. Because if I do a concert, a web concert, a concert on the Metaverse with 1,000 of people watching it in the same room, well, I have 1,000 of people interacting, and that requires a lot of process capacity. So what is your point of view about that? In which stage do you think we are in this moment, and how do you see the future? Just unmute.
Okay. I was muted. Sorry. This classical pandemic, post-pandemic life. Can you hear me? Oh no, you were muted. Okay, but I think we are, I think we are only in the beginning of all of this. It's been several years that we talk about blockchain, NFTs, and cryptography, but I think we are still in the beginning of all of this, because not only technology and internet and all these technical things are not democratized yet. That it's not all the artists that have access. It's not all the people that want to build a company to help these people that have the access, the knowledge and the money and the technology and the right people. So and also the consumers. The consumers are still confused about what is blockchain, what is NFTs, and how do I interact with it? I think we have evolved a lot since 2017, 2019, since I started to study and to get really involved in this. We evolved a lot, but the first idea of Sling Musical was not to connect brands and music and people, was to build an blockchain ecosystem to empower independent artists to sell our music with everything Alex and Chad told to us. But in 2017, it's funny because I see when I look to the world and all these things we are talking today, and it's still not democratized as I thought it was going to be. I start to think, wow, in 2017 I was really ambitious to try what I was trying to do. Not only, because there are technical aspects, there are consumers behaviors aspects, there are also legal aspects. Now Alex Alex wrote a whole doctor thesis about it. So he knows better than all of us about this. So what I'm trying to say is, I see we are in the beginning of all of this. We still need to educate people about what is blockchain, what is metaverse, what is NFTs. And you touched, I don't know which one of you said, but one of you touched a really important point that, it was Alex, that the musicians doesn't know their rights, doesn't know how to register a song correctly, how to negotiate. I have a bachelor in music, and I didn't have one class in the whole course in 4 years studying music in the university about music business, about my rights, my legal rights, my legal responsibilities. Not only one. So I had to study all by myself, and it was hard. And I think and I liked a lot. I like this subject, so it's easier for me to study. But for the majority of musicians, they don't really care. They don't really want to know. At least here in Brazil, in São Paulo, the musicians I have contact to, but. So we need to educate musicians. We need to educate the consumers. And there's a main point I thought when we were asking the question, that I think it's a structural point also, that it's not. We need technology. We need to democratize it so it's more accessible to create companies and also to consume it. But we also need to develop good products, because you can have the technology, you can have the money, it can be cheap, but the product, the way the people will engage with it, consume it, if it's not an excellent user experience and user interface, the people are not going to understand, are not going to use it, are going to hate it sometimes. So, and I think this is one of the main challenges here, because we're talking about these things more than 5 years. That it's when I started to look at it and really think about it, and still we can't see big products, big projects. Of course. It evolved a lot. There are beautiful projects. I'm not talking this, but we don't have P2P Spotify yet. And I think one of the aspects is because of this, is because the product concept, it's not mature yet. And I think there are a lot of motives to this, but I think these are the main challenges. We need to democratize the access to these technologies. It has to be cheaper so more people can use it. We need to educate consumers so they understand what is blockchain, and not on a deep level. We don't need to know how Zoom works to use Zoom, but we are here 2 years and more than 2 years using it every day. So we need to educate the musicians and the music professionals. Chad commented on when he was saying that a lot of professionals in the music industry are not really directly connected to music. So we need to exchange knowledge and exchange ideas like we are doing now, to foster new ideas and to foster these connections and to stimulate people to go for it, to study and to engage and to create. Because I think if we develop all these points, that we are going to really make this shift, to Web 3.0, and to develop products that people are really going to love it, to engage it and easily understand it, to the point that they want to engage and to consume and to, and I think about the moment we are, and the future is this. I think we are in the beginning. We need to continue to work what all of us here are doing, and more, and other people too. And one point I wanted to say before I finish is that I think I see blockchain. If you look to music industry history and music technology history, you can see that not only is, as Chad said, deeply connected. You can't separate one thing to another, but also the evolution of music technology helped artists, especially independent artists, to be more autonomous, to be more independent. So the first wave, as we can say, the recording production equipments, before it was digitalized and democratized, we depended on major labels. So we didn't even have the freedom to choose the way the music was going to be and the way we were going to dress. We needed to follow all the contract, clauses and everything. But with this digitalization, democratization, now you can go in, a guitar center, and it's not, that cheap, but a lot cheaper than it and a lot more accessible. So you go to guitar center and you can buy, a digital interface, a headphone, and you can record with a professional quality inside your home, inside your house, or working as a digital nomad. It's possible. So this was, as I see, one of the phases. A second phase, we can say, it was when it started, the distribution was digitalized. So music on the internet and social platforms. So the first wave, the artist had got the autonomy to record and produce his music independently. The second wave, to distribute this music, to share this music, and not only share, but to market it, to divulgar, né? Escape the word here, but you got me. And I see the blockchain and NFTs and everything that is going to be developed with this structure, this architecture, to give the independent artists the commercially and financially independency. Because it's like Chad and Alex were saying, we are not going to depend on middlemen and besides that, you have the opportunity to decide how much I'm going to pay for how much I'm going to sell, and in which situations. If I choose to give it for free now and next week to charge for it. If you have the right product with this technology, we can develop this. We can reach this commercial autonomy that is going to, give a bigger chunk of the cake to artists. So I see this whole picture like this. I think we are going the right way, and we need more people like Alex, like Chad, like all of us here working and thinking about it. And we have evolved a lot. We have evolved a lot, but we still have a lot of work to do to really make this shift and really make it accessible, democratized, and really global in a global scale.
Nice to hear you, Thor. We have this comment from Marco Tullio on YouTube. Issues related to education should be a priority at this time, not technicalities, but broader worldviews about decentralization and sharing of knowledge. Well, Marco, thanks for the comment, but I guess like this is the event now. Is doing that for 16 years to spread knowledge and to research about those topics. So, and you all can find on the Jedi website a lot of free content. Alex thesis, my thesis, and reports about copyright, new technologies. So we have 5 minutes. I would like to hear from Chad, your perspective. What are your thoughts about this education thing, and also technical issues that we confront to build, and also about decentralization, not only about decentralization of knowledge, but like back in the days, internet was thought to be something decentralized. But nowadays we have like Google, Amazon, and Facebook or Meta, and it's all centralized again. Don't you think that Metaverse is, in a way, it's more centralizing than decentralizing technologies? How can we deal with that? And especially if you think about NFTs, in a way, in a point of view, we can see them as something that's decentralized, but in another way, we have like the marketplaces, they're all central. So what are your thoughts about all of that?
So I would say that the biggest challenge, to me anyways, the secret to the entire equation is social engineering. So it wasn't that long ago when computers were these absurd machines that nobody could touch or use. It wasn't until somebody made it beautiful and seemingly easy that overnight it was acceptable. There was a time when people had Palm Pilots with buttons and styluses that they carried around, and those were the most technologically advanced people. And then again, somebody introduced a device that looked and felt like a phone, but it was not a phone. It's a computer, but it just socially engineered everybody into thinking they were holding a phone. It's not. So before you know it, everybody's accepted mobile computing technology. So it's all semantics and it's all social engineering. As far as education goes, that's a cyclical pattern as well. Microsoft needed to get their complex machines. They had to socially engineer the populace to use computers. So what did they do? They started giving them to schools for kids to do their assignments on. By the time the kids graduated from college, they bought a computer. So humans adapt faster than what we give ourselves credit for. It's all about the packaging. If you package a decentralized NFT project in something delicious and simple, and you can even call it something entirely different, online coins, it really doesn't matter. Humans will grab it immediately. As far as what's taking place inside the code and the technology, they don't care. It's a toaster. They just want it to make toast. As far as like keeping something decentralized, I think that is the human problem, is that everything that humans make, other humans come in and they chop it up and they want to have control of it. I think that the key component is that we accept that formula and we're always adapting like we're playing a game of football. You know, you can always be like charging down the middle of the field, but obviously at some point they're going to figure out he's going to charge down the middle of the field. That's where it's our job to continually keep bringing out new innovations. So every time they think that they've got they got control of it, they're actually now getting control of the oldest, crappiest tech that's available. So even like right now, as labels and everybody's clinging to streaming platforms and they're digging in their heels, for me personally, I'm like, go for it. You guys can retain ownership of AM radio. The world's moving on to a new technology. And by the time you even figure out how to get to that level, we'll have moved again. So from where I come at it, it's a position of speed and being nimble, because they aren't and they never will be. People can copy and copycat stuff all day long, but innovation is impossible to keep up with. So I think it's all about the social engineering, the packaging of the goods, and just accepting the fact that you're always just 3 steps ahead of the behemoth of industry that's trying to take your stuff. And once you accept that they're always right there, you have 9 more ideas that they have never even thought of. And by the time they get to that one, they're already old and outdated and nobody cares. They're a Palm Pilot while you have an iPhone 14. And I think that is the only way, historically speaking, to ever stay ahead of it, is to let them get your table scraps while they're chewing all that up. You're on the next innovation. And again, educating the populace, and the populace itself is easily educatable, considering that we all carry phones on us 24 hours a day and we do our banking from them and everything else under the sun. And that was impossible 20 years ago. And now that's all we do every day. So it's possible as long as the innovators, the creators, the people that are on the forefront, we just got to be, we just can't get lazy. We got to keep moving and win. That's it.
Thank you a lot. And I guess we have to finish. We would have a lot more to discuss, but we can connect online. And so I hope you all enjoyed the session. Thanks to all of you that put aside some time to participate. Thank you, Thor. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, all the attendees, all the Marcus Vashovics and all the Jedi team. And see you all again soon. Bye-bye.